In this video, I want to share with you some of my favorite Lightroom tips and shortcuts. Plus, I'm going to show you how I took this image and turned it into this image. Hi, Paul here from Photo Genius. Welcome to my channel where I do photography tutorials, I share tips and tricks and do occasional gear reviews as well. So if you're new, please consider subscribing. This video is kindly brought to you by Skillshare, the online learning community for creatives. And what I want to do in this video is I want to walk you through my editing process using Adobe Lightroom, but in particular I want to share some of my favorite tips, tricks and shortcuts so you can speed your workflow up. Now, if you haven't yet got Lightroom, it's definitely worth checking out. You can download a free trial and I'll put a link in the description below the video so you can try it out for yourselves. Okay, let's get into it. Now, the image I'm going to be editing was shot in RAW format, and if you're not quite sure the difference between shooting RAW and shooting JPEG, I've done a separate video on this. I'll put a link up here and also in the description below this video so you can check it out for yourselves. But look, if you're going to go to the trouble of editing your images and download software like Lightroom, if you're not already shooting RAW, I would definitely recommend it. So if you don't already know, getting your images into Lightroom is pretty straightforward. If I just pop the SD card out of the bottom of this camera and put it into the card reader, Lightroom should automatically open up the import page. And if it doesn't, all you've got to do is click on import, nice and easy. So my images have been imported into Lightroom, and this is the library module where you can view your images. I've got a bunch of folders here called collections where I store my images, so you can drag these images from the main screen over into the folders if you wish. So these pictures were taken on a recent travel around Europe, and what we're going to do is edit this image here. So we're going to go to the develop module. And this image is of the John Snow pub in Soho, London, taken at the end of a very wet day. And what attracted me was the reflections on the cobblestones here and the colours. I really like it. This was shot with a Fujifilm X100S camera. And let's go to lens correction to start with then. So we're going to scroll down the panel on the right hand side to go to lens correction. And lens correction will, as the name suggests, fix any lens distortion, vignetting. It's pretty cool. What I'm going to do is click on enable profile corrections, and you'll see here that already it's recognized the camera and lens that was used. So it's already applied corrections based on that particular lens. I'm also going to click on remove chromatic aberrations as well. So oops, missed that. Let's do that. Okay, and if I just toggle on and off this effect, if you look very carefully, you'll see the distortion is fixed. That's before and that's after. It's fairly minor change, to be honest, but it's a good place to begin. We're now going to move on to cropping. Now the crop tool is over here on the panel, and if I click on the crop tool, you will see the rule of thirds lines come up, guidelines. The shortcut, which is really handy for cropping, is simply R. And then another great shortcut, so this is tip number 2, is to press 0, and you can change these guidelines, which is pretty useful. And these guidelines are based on different types of compositions. This one here is called the Fibonacci spiral. The one I tend to use is just the rule of thirds, and this is very good for not only composition but also just straightening things. Now I don't think this image needs a lot of cropping, but it does look a little bit wonky. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just drag this in a tiny bit, and I'm going to fix the wonkiness of this by going over to the angle tool and dragging it over to the right just to fix the lean on the building. I think that's about it. Okay, to apply the crop, I just press return, and that's done. And that's the crop tool. And if we go back to the crop tool, there is a drop down menu. There's lots of options. You can do different aspect ratios, square and so on. It's pretty cool. And remember, the shortcut for that is R. Now, the next thing we're going to look at, which is just underneath, is controlling our exposure. This comes under what is called tone. Exposure wise, I'm actually going to leave the exposure as it is, but what I'm going to do is I want to bring out the detail in the shadow areas, but I want to bring down some of the bright spots in this image. So I'm going to go to shadows, and I'm going to increase the shadows significantly. I'm actually going to take this up as far as it will go. And you can see what this has done is it's raised the overall exposure of the image. If I zoom in by pressing Command and plus, you will see that that's a big change. Now you'll also see that some of these lights are overexposed. We often call these hotspots. That's where the highlights slider comes in. So I'm going to take the highlights down, and I'm going to take these down all the way. There you go, that looks pretty cool. I'm also going to go to the white slider and just bring that down a touch, and go up to exposure and just raise the overall exposure of the image a bit. Okay, that looks pretty neat. Now if I go to the backslash button and press that, we can see a before and after image. So as you can see, the exposure tools are very powerful. Again, a reminder, you're really only going to benefit fully from these if you are shooting a raw image. The ability to reduce the highlights, boost shadows, amazing stuff. Okay, let's move on to tip number 3, which is all about white balance. So sometimes, depending on which type of lighting you're taking your photo under, you might notice strange color casts, and that's where the white balance options come in. There's 2 sliders, temperature. Sliding to the right will warm the image up, sliding to the left will cool the image. Double click on the slider takes it back to the original starting point. And here we've got what is called the white balance dropper. Now the shortcut for this is W, or you can simply click on it, and you'll see the cursor change into a little dropper which you can move around the image. And as it says here, you want to pick a target that is neutral. So you're looking for something that is white or neutral grey, and I know the front of this shop is white. So I'm going to go over to that, click on that, and what it's done is corrected the white balance. Now, I actually prefer the image when it was a little bit warmer. So in this instance, I'm actually going to undo what it's done by pressing Command Z on a Mac, because I quite like the orange glow here. But white balance is a really good, useful tool. And again, the W key is simply the shortcut for that one. Now for tip number 4, just wanted to remind you to tell everybody about Skillshare. Absolutely, thanks for reminding me. Now, you may have noticed at the beginning of this video an animation, and if you missed it, I'll put it down here so you can check it out once again. I created this myself using a class I found on Skillshare, the online learning community for creatives. Now, I'm currently working and staying at home because of the current world situation. I'm sure you guys are as well, but that doesn't stop me from learning new skills. And one of my goals is to get better at Adobe After Effects so I can create better videos. Now, I was able to do this using a class I found on Skillshare. For less than $10 a month, members get unlimited access to thousands of inspiring classes. And after a quick search on Skillshare, I found the perfect class for me. And within an hour, I had my animation complete. Now the first 1,000 of my subscribers who click on the link below this video will receive 2 months free trial of Premier membership, so you can explore your creativity with Skillshare. Okay, so back to the video. I've got some great Lightroom tips to share. Are you off then? Yep, my work here is done. Okay, cool. See you later. Oh, nice t-shirt by the way. Yeah, you too. Now let's get back to the edit. Now my next tip, tip number 4, is alternative ways of viewing your image. I've already shown you that backslash allows you to skip between the original image and the current state of the image, or in other words, the edit so far. But another couple of cool tips is to press L, and L will darken the frame or darken everything around the image and get rid of the clutter. Press L again, and the only thing we can see is now our image. And these are really good tips because sometimes when you're editing your image, all the information around the outside can be a little bit distracting. So every now and again, I just like to press the L button, stand back and look at the image within this nice frame just to see how it's going. So that's the L button, and again, backslash button takes you through the before and after. There is also this option down here where you can compare the images side by side. If I click on the YY, what it will do is place the original image next to the edit so far. This is also very useful. And to go back, I'm just going to go over to the loop, what is called the loop view, to go back to my normal view. So tip 4 really was just about alternative ways of viewing your edit. I really like the backslash shortcut, being able to go back and see the image prior to editing and then compare it with where you are currently. I think it's really good, being able to place the images side by side and see the original image next to the edit so far. Again, really good. It keeps you grounded. Sometimes you can just pile on all these different things. You can really push an image to the extremes and you end up with something that is a million miles away from where you first started out. So I think they're cool tips. We're now going to move on to presence, which is really good at bringing out detail in an image. Texture, clarity and dehaze. Dehaze is particularly useful when you're doing maybe landscape photography and you've got a bit of haziness or maybe fogginess to your picture. I'm going to adjust the texture and if I increase and zoom in to this image so you can see, if I push the texture really high, you'll see what it really does. It really brings out texture in things like here, the brickwork and the cobblestones, clothing, wood grain, anything like that. It's pretty neat. Now I don't want to go too crazy with this. I'm just going to pull it back a little bit. I'm going to set the texture to about 56. I think it looks good. Next one is clarity, which I think the name says it all really. I'm going to increase the clarity a touch. I'm going to go to maybe about 30. Okay, if I push the clarity too far it will look a bit unrealistic. I don't really want to push that too far, so about mid 30s will do. I think I don't really want to change the dehaze, and I think that's really good. It's sharpened up all the detail here. It's looking pretty neat. Now you need to be careful with the presence tools because you can push the image a bit too far, and one of the problems can be digital noise, so your picture will start to look really grainy. Okay, so let's now move on to tip 5, and this is all to do with sharpening. And as well as these tools, we can sharpen the image using in the sharpening options, which again, I need to scroll down to get to these. Sharpening does exactly what it says on the tin, really. You've got sharpening amount here. Again, it might be difficult to see on the screen, so I'm going to zoom in. But if I push the sharpening a lot, you'll see the image sharpen up. And if I bring that back down again, it will go down. Again, it's this area here where you're really going to see the change. So I'm going to increase the sharpening to 96, which is pretty high. And I now want to move up to the sky in the image, because what I want to show you is that the sharpening tools can make the image look a little bit grainy. Now that this of course is called digital noise, and to get rid of this, what we can do is go down to noise reduction and increase the luminance a touch. And this will get rid of some of the digital noise in the sky. Now tip number 5 is related to sharpening, and this is masking. Now what I'm going to do here is hold down Option on my Mac, move the masking slider backwards and forwards, and what you'll see is the image goes white and then you start to get like a negative view. Now this is quite simple. This is masking, and this is showing me the areas in which the sharpening is applied. Anything that is white is sharpened. So if I bring the mask all the way down, you'll see that most of the image goes white, and this means that the sharpening is being applied to basically the whole of the image. Now I don't need to sharpen the sky, for example, so what I'm going to do is move the masking slider down so the sky isn't white anymore, because that would just bring out the digital noise. And I only really want to sharpen up the detail in the cobblestones and the brickwork. Okay, so again, if I hold down Option and move the mask slider a tiny bit, you'll see, you don't want to overdo this. So I'm going to push the masking quite a way to about 90, 92. And that means that it's only really enhancing the detail. It's not over sharpening the image. And I think, again, that looks pretty good. The last thing I'm going to do, just to make the picture look a bit more vibrant, is I'm going to go up to vibrance here. I'm just going to increase that a touch and increase the saturation a touch, just to bring out this orange color. And I think our edit is complete. So the edit is complete and I'm really pleased with it. Just to recap, I started off with lens correction. I then cropped the image. I adjusted the exposure and the white balance, applied some sharpening, and then I was pretty much done. What I'm going to show you now is how we can now take this raw image and export it as a JPEG for social media. Exporting your edited raw image as a JPEG is pretty straightforward. I'm a big fan of Instagram, so I'm going to show you 2 ways of doing this. To export this image as a JPEG, we start by going up to File, we select Export, And the pop-up gives us a range of choices. Export location is where you will be saving your image to. File name gives you the option to change the file name, give it a custom name if you wish. I'm not going to make any changes here. Video doesn't apply. File settings, well, we're going to record or save the image as a JPEG. And then image sizing, currently set to 2000 pixels at the longest edge of the image. Again, there's lots of different options to choose from here. So to now save my JPEG, all I've got to do is click on export, but I'm not going to, because I want to show you an alternative way of saving an image. So now I want to show you how to save the image perfectly for Instagram. Now, if we start by going to the crop tool, from the drop down menu over here, there's a few different options, and Instagram, if it's a portrait image as this one is, like the dimensions to be 4:5. So I'm going to click on 4:5. They also like the longest edge to be 1080 pixels by 1350 pixels at the shortest edge. So what we can do now is we can go File, Export, as before. No changes to export location. File name I'm going to leave as is. But when I get down to image size, if I select the longest edge to be 1080 pixels, which is what Instagram like, and then press export, so this image should now match the perfect ratio and pixel size as defined by Instagram. So I hope you've enjoyed the video and you picked up some cool tips. I want to say a special thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring this video and supporting my channel. And don't forget, the link below will take you to that 2-month free trial of Skillshare's premium membership. So make sure you check that out. If you've enjoyed the video, please give us a thumbs up, consider subscribing to my channel, and don't forget, down below you can also leave your comments, questions and suggestions. I hope to see you again soon. Bye.